Welcome to the Colts Bros podcast. I am your host, Grant Sinning. Tonight I am joined by Alex and Garrett. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing tonight?
Doing really well. Ready to talk about the three relevant players at the two positions we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it's an interesting class, and I can already tell you that next year's class is based on the five guys that are I could tell you about for next year. They're all infinitely better.
Yep.
So
Bosa and
Bosa and Oliver and
right, yeah,
Dexter Lawrence and Clellan Farrell.
all of Clemson's defensive line.
Yeah,
It says so much
literally their whole defensive line.
it says so much that we want to talk about them before we talk about the guys in this class.
So that is what we are discussing tonight. Edge and defensive line. But first of all, we got to say it is Wednesday. We are 8 days away from the draft, and it is serious smokescreen season. Off the top of your head, what's the hottest take you've seen?
I mean, based on what
Any smokescreen that you can think of, what was the wildest one you've seen so far?
This year?
Yeah.
Roquan Smith isn't good.
I'd like to think that the Colts are going to take Edmonds, but I doubt that's. I'm sure there's some truth to that, or maybe not take, but that they're at least interested in Edmonds. I don't. I mean, to me, Josh Allen still has to be a smokescreen, but it's really not. So I've just pretended it is to make it make more sense. But that's a legit consideration, at least if not the Browns at one, at least somebody in the top five.
Man, you get the Browns and some crazy bad college quarterback in a room. I mean, I'll believe that smokescreen every time, man.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one, and that's the reason I started out with this. I saw somewhere, and maybe it was a joke tweet or whatever, but it was something along the lines of, "It's not out of the realm of possibilities that the Browns take a quarterback at 1 and 4."
Oh yeah.
And I don't remember where it came from, but it's just like my goodness, like what, it's just one of those that's just really funny. But Alex, I hit you on what you just said. We were tweeting back and forth a little bit earlier on this. It's bizarro world to me that the two best quarterbacks in this draft aren't being considered for the first two picks.
Yeah. Especially we're going to talk about quarterbacks next week, but it's just weird that the guy. I mean, it's not weird, I guess, but it's just they're pretty clearly that for me, Baker and Lamar are the top two, with Rosen pretty close, but
Okay.
it's certainly they're in the discussion and have a better case than Darnold and certainly Josh Allen.
You've never been on
this mentioned remotely.
I will say you've clearly never seen a game where Darnold is not on your side and good Darnold comes out and just does whatever he wants to your defense. So
yeah, but man,
my main experience with him, other than that Rose Bowl game, was watching him just get sacked on every play against Ohio State. So that wasn't great.
But bad Darnold is really bad. He's awful.
That's true, but
really, he throw you talk about a dude who has awful mechanics.
Right. He hasn't, as I recall, he doesn't have quite as many reps as a lot of quarterbacks his age do, just throwing the football and live reps.
I believe that's right.
Most of his bad plays are just really fundamental stuff breaking down. So you hope that kind of thing can improve over time with the right coaching, which he won't receive at Cleveland. But, the good plays, man, the good plays, that's the kind of stuff that I tend to focus on when I'm watching prospects. So I think he's not Allen, but Darnold is the upside guy in this class.
Yeah, we were talking about this on Twitter, at least me. I was, and then Greg came later with Hank.
Sorry.
But I do think it might not be a good class in a vacuum, but I think it's certainly a lot more appealing than a lot of classes previously, because I can see any of those top four guys as legit interesting prospects and quarterbacks that I'm really excited to see in the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm just ready for Lamar, man.
Yeah,
Lamar, like even if Baker doesn't work out too, like both of those guys are gonna be so interesting.
They're going to be in. I think they're just going to be so much fun in the NFL. For me, my top two are Rosen and Lamar, but I can see where you could say Baker because Baker is close three for me. But anyways, we'll talk about that next week. Preview for next week's show. We got a couple of guests joining us next week. I've already announced Jay. The other one we'll talk about later. But it's just I don't know. It's smokescreen season is just so much fun. It's just like, where in the world is this stuff coming from? Three-way trades and all this kind of stuff, and it's bizarro world out there right now. And I can't. I mean, I think we said this before, but this is one of the most intriguing drafts in the past 4 or 5 years, just because of where do the quarterbacks go? Where does Saquon Barkley go? What are the Colts going to do? And it's not just because we're a Colts-based podcast, but I think that's like. The Colts, that 5 and 6 pick area is going to change the entire draft. It's either going to be Denver or it's going to be us. So
yeah, I think most drafts tend to revolve around, at least for the first portion. There's usually a top quarterback, maybe a top offensive tackle, and a top edge. Those are kind of the three that you think of in the top three. But this year, you can make a case either way. I mean, there isn't really a top tackle. Chubb is considered the top edge, but isn't really that highly regarded compared to people from years past. And the quarterbacks, just everybody has their own opinion. So I really can't see how it's going to fall, especially because the Browns have 2 picks in the top 5. For God's sake.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. Like I am just so excited, not even. I mean, the first round's going to be fun, but the second round's going to be even better because we got 3 picks there. And they're high picks in the second round. So
I'm really excited. Cause my main excitement though is on Friday night after all those second round picks is just watching all of them and with the context of the Colts, and that's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah,
because I remember day 2 years ago when I was really pumped and was planning to write an article on the guys we picked. Then we picked T.J. Green and LaRaven.
Yeah,
back to back.
You were like, yeah, I'll take day 2. I'll write about them. Don't worry about that, guys.
Yeah.
TJ Green, you're like, Garrett.
So I'm hoping for better things. And with what is it? Is it 5 picks tomorrow or 5 picks on Friday?
4.
Or 4. Only
but I bet it's 5. I bet it ends up being 5.
Well, yeah, with at least 4 picks, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because here's the deal. I honestly, that back-to-back pick spot, that's a great spot to pick your guy and then trade back. And pick up an extra 3rd or 4th or something. You know what I mean? It's. I'm excited. We can talk.
One last thing. One of my favorite parts of the draft always is to see who the top guys available on day 2, because they're always first round players you think that are somehow still available, and now we're gonna get a chance at 1 or 2 of those, which is really exciting.
Yeah, very, very exciting. All right, let's go. You guys want to do edge first, or do you want to do defensive line first?
Let's get defensive line out of the way.
Okay.
That won't take long.
Okay, we're going to talk about some of them though.
Oh, okay.
Just because I watched them, and that's what we're going to do. Okay. And you guys watched them too, supposedly. So we're not going to. Yeah, we'll get to them there. It's an interesting group. Let's start with the
Mo Hurst.
Yeah, Mo Hurst. Let's start with Mo Hurst.
Oh.
Man, he's good. I mean, I don't even. I mean, that's really all. That's really all you gotta say about Mo Hurst. He's really freaking good. I mean, technically does everything that you want him to do. Plays with leverage, has good initial get off. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I go over his measurables: 6'1", 292, 32-inch arms. Pro day workout 4.95 40, which isn't great. But I mean, it is what it is.
I really like the short, stout defensive tackles that are really powerful. Those are fun to watch, generally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year, man, 13 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, but he was there on every play for that defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Michigan was like a defense that lost a lot of players last year. I believe they lost more than anybody in the country. It was one of the younger, good teams, and he just like carried that entire defense. Him and Rashawn Gary, who's still coming into his own, but like Mo Hurst is made that defense was good last year, and it was pretty much entirely because of their defensive coordinator and him.
Yeah, it's Don Brown, right?
Yeah,
Don Brown. I just love watching their defense. Rashawn Gary, he's another one for 2019. If he can make that next leap, he's made leaps every year. I feel like so far.
He's going to be asked a lot more next year. So.
Yeah, but my boy Devin Bush, number 10 on that defense, that's a good linebacker. But anyways, we're not talking about him. But I mean, like I said, he's one of the first off the snap all the time. I mean, everything that you want to see in that penetrating 3-tech that we've talked about multiple times. You think about that in a player in this draft, it's Mo Hurst. Now, will he be there in the second round due to his heart condition? We don't know. He was cleared to play, or he's cleared to go back. He participated in his pro day, wasn't asked back for medical rechecks. And I've heard that said from multiple, like Benjamin Albright type people. That's a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. And no one really knows at this point. So he could be one of those guys that you're talking about, Alex. They're at the top of the second round that's fallen because of medical concerns. And then that would be insane.
That like, especially, you talked about this with Steven on the podcast, but like that type of player is important in the type of defense we're trying to run. And I'm interested to see how this if he falls or not, because like you never really know with medicals. We thought like Miles Jack was okay, and then he fell to the second round. We've seen that time and time again. But if the medical clears out, or if the risk is relatively minimal, I mean, he's the only defensive lineman I've been taking the first round, but I would do that comfortably. So him on day 2 would be an absolute steal.
Yeah, I really think he'll go before that, but you know, he's one of those mystery players in this draft, because I could honestly in my mind of reading the draft and everything that I've consumed over the past 2 or 3 months I think Vita Vea ends up being the first defensive lineman off the board.
Oakland, man, that's John Gruden in a player.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's just move on to him. Vita Vea, 6'4", 347. Combine ran a 5.1, which is, I mean, at 350. That's just insane. 41 bench press, 32 and 5/8 inch arms. Now you guys, we made a joke. There's only a couple relevant people. Vita Vea, I think he's relevant. I think he's a good player.
I think he's relevant within the scheme, within the context of like NFL draft, but I'm not sure in terms of like a good prospect. I really don't see it with him. I just don't.
I agree with Alex. I don't care for him myself. He kind of.
He's just not my type of player.
Who does he remind me of? A couple years ago.
Andrew Billings?
Yes, Baylor. That's what I was thinking.
So
he's like maybe got a little more athletic upside, but I don't think he's as good against the run.
But okay, so are you guys of the opinion that he's a decent run stuffer and not a good pass rusher, or meh at both?
Kind of.
To me, I more meh at both. I guess he's better in the run, but I wasn't overly impressed with him.
I feel
he just
like
fall over and be a pretty good run stuffer.
I feel like him as a 1-tech in a 4-3 is going to do better for him than anything else.
I definitely agree with that.
Like, okay, so Garrett, remind me, Washington kind of plays this weird bear front, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So like they do a lot of 3-man fronts, don't they?
They tend to.
So, he's asked to do a lot of double team. I think if you put him in the right scheme, and you can say that with a lot of these guys, right? But you put him on like if he goes to Dallas, or if he goes to like Buffalo, if they end up keeping their 22nd pick, which continues to look more and more unlikely, it's just going to be interesting because those would be really good landing spots for him. So I don't know. I really think that he's got great pass rush ability when he's a one gap kind of guy, because he's got that speed. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't want him for us. I'll say that.
Yeah, if they're not like invested in Hankins, then they're certainly not going to invest in him with a top pick.
Right. I feel like they're ready to roll with Grover Stewart and Al Woods for nose.
Oh, interesting. I'm really excited to see Grover, but I'm not expecting him to start. Are you guys?
No, I still think it'll be Al Woods.
You think Al Woods and Grover though at 1 and 3?
No. I think they'll rotate at that one tech. Like they'll.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I don't know that our 3 techs on the roster right now. And if it is, it's Hassan Ridgeway, which I'm okay with too, because he was really good at that at Texas. Excuse me. Next guy, talk about Taven Bryan, 6'5", 291, out of Florida. He ran a 4.98 with a 7.123 cone with 32 3/4 inch arms. I said this once on our podcast, and I'm going to say it again. Taven Bryan's got some interesting traits, but he doesn't know how to use any of them. He's like a chicken with his head cut off, ball snapped, and he's got great, off the line speed, etc., and then all of a sudden the ball's 6 yards behind him, and he's trying to play catch up because he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't, you know what I mean? He can get through, but he doesn't. He's like, he can get through, but then the guard's smart enough just to push him out, like, and the ball's like, you know what I mean? It's just gone. That's really what I felt with him, watching him every time. It's like, oh, he's through the line, but now he has no idea what he's doing. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw. I that type of player has never really been my thing. Like the athletic, not really sure what they're doing. Because I think a defensive line, while there certainly is a place for like athleticism and sort of just wreaking havoc, I'm not sure that I value, maybe this is my philosophy overall on defense, but I just values like being fundamentally sound. And I'd be fine. He seems to be a little polarizing. I like him. I would be happy with him early day 2, but just because he has that upside, and he's gonna definitely give you disruption. But I mean, he's not really a guy who I think is gonna be relevant for us because maybe at 22, but that's all I can see.
Yeah, he's explosive, which is appealing to me. But like Alex said, when Alex said that he prefers players who are fundamentally sound on defense to athletic players, I at least used to be the opposite of that. I always really just enjoyed getting athletes on my team. But I've been burned by that a few times, especially on the defensive end over the last few years with prospects I've liked who just haven't panned out. And I mean, at least I didn't like Bud Dupree, unlike some people. But
I don't know who that would have been.
Really? Okay, we can.
Wait. Speaking of old takes, wasn't that like? Did you have him like top 6 or something? Or am I making that up?
I did not.
No, but Grant, didn't you have him like really high?
I don't know about that. He was definitely high up there. I don't know. I
apologize. We didn't need to do this. I'm sorry. This wasn't fair of me.
Old take exposed. Don't make me go back through the podcast. I will sit there and watch hours of podcasts to pull up takes, man.
They're in there.
They're in there for sure. They're definitely in there.
We're gonna put them in a time capsule and then into like a satellite so that the aliens will find them. They'll be like, "Oh God, these guys, they just had no idea."
But I mean, anyways, we could talk about that many times later.
Anyways, the point is fundamentals are good, and Bryan doesn't really seem to have any. So,
right, and I think honestly, here's an interesting look. That old, now they got a new coach, I forget who they hired, but anyways, that defense that they ran, Antonio Morrison, Taven Bryan, I forget who the guy was that was drafted last year, like third or fourth round. He was a defensive lineman. Like that defensive like front seven, all they were just asked to be like aggressive, like super aggressive. It's like there was never ever a plan for them anyways. So maybe with a different plan of attack, it could be, it'd be. I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to spitball.
Caleb Brantley. Sorry,
yeah, that guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, highly athletic guy, fundamentals lacking. So we'll kind of go from. It's just interesting to kind of think about. You don't want to like dismiss drafting people from certain schools because then you could miss out on Juju Smith-Schuster, right, with the USC wide receiver thing. But it'll be interesting to see how Taven, which by the way is the weirdest name. Well, actually, it's not the weirdest name. The next name we're going to talk about is my favorite name in the draft. But it's just interesting to kind of look back and kind of see, like, through that scheme, what were those players asked to do? And they were just asked to be super aggressive. Next guy that we're going to spend the rest of, or a good amount of time on is Daron Payne, Alabama, 6'2", 311, ran a 4.9 and had a 7.583 cone. Okay.
All right. I want to preface this, or just before you guys start, I want to say generally I don't trust prospects who shoot up draft boards right after the playoffs or bowl game season.
Fair. Now, before I get into my takes, Alex, I know you've got him on Daron Payne.
Yeah, I've like watched. I think I watched 4 games, and I don't see anything good about this guy. He, I guess, grew in popularity and grew in status after that title game, because that was a really good national championship game. I'll give him that. But I agree with Garrett in the fact that don't hype players up after one game. Don't trust them. Trust the overall body of work. And I don't see a first-round pick. I don't see a second-round pick. I'm not sure I see a third-round pick. I'm not the best evaluating defensive lineman, I'll say that. But I did not see any traits to me that stand out as a guy who I am at all comfortable taking where he's being projected.
Okay. So I think that's fair when you look at his overall body of work. But let's take a minute here and talk about his overall body of work. I watched the most Alabama games because Roll Tide. And but anyways, that's besides the point. He was asked to play a lot of nose, and he was a 2-gapping guy for a lot of those games, and he was very good at doing his run fits. Okay, it wasn't until the playoffs when they asked him to be a 1-gap penetrator, and when he did that, that's where you got all those splash plays from. So I think his upside for me is probably the second highest out of these guys in this draft, because I'm interested to see what he can do as a 3-tech, and instead of a 0 and a 1. So that's really all I've got. I mean his splash plays and that playoff run. We're talking shed and rips and bull rushes that are just knocking dudes on their ass all constantly. Just so many of them, and it was fantastic to watch. And it was he was just so dominant. So I think he's got super high upside. I think he'd be there in the second round for us, like at those top few picks, and I would be ecstatic to grab him to let him try.
I bet he does fit that profile of one of the top guys who could be there.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I guess that's a good point that that they used him in a different way, but I just did not like any of the film from anything but that Georgia game.
Hey, it's all fair. It's all fair. Any other defensive line guys you want to talk about?
Well, since you guys mentioned that he might not have been used in the right way. That makes me think of Stanford's Harrison Phillips, who is also a guy who occasionally gets hyped. Not really. I don't think a lot of people have him.
I think a lot of people think he's real bad.
Yeah, I do too. But I was just going to say that because he does, I don't know, he has some nice plays and he tested fairly well. So I think, and like Stanford's defense after Solomon Thomas went, it was just like every defensive lineman has to play 90% of the snaps a game or some crazy amount. So I don't know. I think he's kind of interesting as a much later option. But
yeah, I kind of liked him actually. I was expecting not to like him, but I don't know. I just saw a lot there. Also, I'm not just doing this because he's an Ohio State guy. Yeah, but Michael Hill is somebody who nobody's talking about. I'm sure 90% of draft Twitter doesn't know who he is, but he was a good player at Ohio State, and I'm not sure how he's going to translate to the NFL. But for example, I liked him more than Deron Payne. I saw more out of him than Deron Payne. That's my semi-hot take, but I don't know where he's going to get drafted. I don't know if he's going to get drafted, but I think he's a good player.
Two guys I'll hit on real quick. Andrew Brown, I'm interested to see because when he played the Senior Bowl, okay, so let's go back history. He was one of the top recruits in the nation, decided to stay home, play at Virginia. They've got a weird defense. They played him at like 5 tech. Goes to the Senior Bowl, starts to learn play 3 tech. Has the really good athletic profile. Be interested to see where he goes. He's going to be, I think, a late day 2, early day 3 kind of guy. Be interesting to see where he goes. Another guy I'm really interested in, and it's really hard for me with this guy, and it's Rasheem Green. Okay, USC, 6'4", 275 with a 4.7 40, 33-inch arms, and I mean I'm trying to pull up his 3-cone, but man, if he's there in the 3rd round and we haven't taken like a defensive lineman already, I think you just shoot for the stars with him to try and play your 3 tech. He's only 20 years old, so I mean he's just so raw. That's his issue. He's just so very raw. But on the plays where he puts it together, you're like, holy crap! Like this dude is insane. So I'm really interested to see where he ends up. I know he's slotted in day 2, but like I said, like if we're in there in that 3rd round range and the 3rd round pick is Rasheem Green after already making 4 picks, I'm totally down for it. Yeah, have you guys watched him? I know, Garrett, you probably have a few takes on him considering he's a Pac-12 guy, but
I don't remember. I mean, I watched the couple of USC games live, but I wasn't paying attention to him. His teammate Wosu stood out more to me on the edge. Yeah. I guess we'll talk about him a little later. But honestly, I was too busy crying because we were losing.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the edge. First guy I think everyone needs to talk about, or we need to talk about, Bradley Chubb, NC State.
Chubb.
Okay. Here's where we're at. I think our consensus is going to be this. If Chubb is there at 6, we stay at 6. Is that right? And take him? If he's there, we take him?
He's not my number 1 player on my board who's probably going to be there, but I would be happy with him at 6.
Yeah, he's actually not my first choice either, but I wouldn't be angry or anything.
All right.
I mean, we've been waiting for an edge
I'll say this. I have 3 players, 2 of which are actually realistic, who I would take at 6 and not look to trade back for most packages, and he is in that tier. So I fundamentally agree with you, but he's not the only guy, I should say, in that tier.
Who's the other guy?
The other guy is Quentin Nelson, and then the other one is an edge we're going to talk about a little later.
Ooh.
Harold
that high. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Okay.
Spoiler. Okay, let's talk about Chubb. He is a lot of fun. He really is. I at one point in this draft process, I think I talked myself out of him like completely, not because he wasn't a good player, but just because I'm so like wanting to trade back. But like I go back to it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's get him. You know, if he's there, you got to take him, I think, because you're right. We've been looking for an edge. Is he the super athletic, bendy guy that a Harold Landry is? No.
He's actually fairly bendy, but I just don't think he's that mobile.
Right. Okay, that's fair. But he's a tactician. So, I mean, it's...
And for what it's worth, he's an infinitely better player against the run than Landry.
Infinitely.
Yeah. He's got maybe, 15 pounds on Landry?
They're completely different players. And
yeah, absolutely. They're really different players.
Yeah. Landry more that speed rusher kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah.
But Chubb all around.
I think a lot of it, that's what appeals to me more. And the thing with Chubb is that I really liked his film, and I still do, and that's why I'd be really fine taking him at 6. But I still could not get over that 3 cone. I don't know what happened, but that stuck in my head is something that is like, that's just unprecedented. It's not unprecedented.
The hit rate, what it is the hit rate for someone with the 3 cone that bad is awful.
You have to be excellent at pretty much everything else, and the good news is he kind of is. He has a really good profile outside of that, but that's a really bad number, and a number and it's a number that usually correlates, or that does correlate to edge success. So,
yeah, and I just think about over the last few years, the top edges in these classes, guys like Bosa and Myles Garrett, and even back to Jadeveon Clowney, and I don't think I rank Chubb with guys like that. So to me, it doesn't feel like we're getting really a star caliber player, whereas a guy maybe like Derwin James or Quentin Nelson, those are, I think, definitely at least Pro Bowl players.
That's kind of my thought too. Like you shouldn't draft based on your roster in your older roster, your veteran roster. That's kind of short-sighted. But to me, he's so similar to Jamal Sheard in a lot of ways, in that they kind of have the same strengths, and that they're going to be good run players and decent and good pass rushers, but they're never going to, like, this was Sheard's best season, and even then he was he's not a Pro Bowl player. And that's just not, maybe this is just biases, but that's not something I want at 6. I want a Pro Bowl defender, especially when I know there are ones available.
Yeah, you want to feel excited when you're taking a player in the top 10, and I wouldn't feel excited about Chubb.
I think I would be. But I
think I would be only on the fact that I expect him not to be there. So the fact that like a good player is going to be there and that we take him, I think I'd be excited. I think there are better options out there.
I honestly, I know this sounds weird, but and I don't know why I've been thinking this way lately. But if Chubb's not there and Derwin James is the pick at 6, I think I'd be infinitely more excited about a Derwin James than a Bradley Chubb.
I just think he's a better player. Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm looking forward to watching that player. I'm not really thinking about doing the calculus of what they contribute to my team and what how the expected win percentage will increase or whatever. And I don't think it would be that different.
Right. That's the same. That's my philosophy for a guy like Derwin, who actually might be in that tier too. I just don't. It sounds like he's falling, but he's in that same group of just a guy is pretty much going to be a Pro Bowl player.
This is all I'm going to say right now. We are giving an aneurysm to the people who listen to our podcast, because they're going to listen to this and be like, what? This is going to. I think this. I mean, people.
Are these sizzling hot takes? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, no, they are. Hot takes. They really are.
We're giving an aneurysm to the Draft Indie podcast of 2016, who finally have a chance to take a top tier edge rusher, and we're not going to do it.
Yes. Yeah, we've been pining for this, complaining about it. I have for years now, and now that we're here, we're like, maybe we can trade down, get a little bit more value.
Let's take an off-ball linebacker from Boise State.
Let's trade back to the Dolphins and get a top 5 first-round pick for next year, because they're going to be really bad. But anyways.
Yeah, we're frauds. We just like to complain, and we like having draft picks. That's all we are.
Yeah, frauds we are. But that's a different conversation for another day. Let's talk about Harold Landry out of Boston College, 6 foot, 6'2", 250, with a 6.883 cone. He's pretty fun to watch. We've been talking about him for 2 years. I don't really know what else we can.
Watch the 2016 tape. Watch the bowl game. You'll get it.
Yeah,
That's all I can say.
He's really bad at the run, but he's really good at pass rushing.
I just don't care at this point. He's the guy who 2016 drafted. He would be all over because he's just that pass rusher.
Yes.
And at this point, I've been wanting that for so long, and he is that.
Yes, he is. I mean, I don't really know how much else you can really say. I mean, the one thing I will give him criticism for on his pass rush is that he's really just an outside rusher. He doesn't really have a counter to move in.
We didn't talk about this with Chubb, but Chubb is really excellent at that. Like his pass rushing skills on the interior are really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Landry, he's kind of just a little one-sided now, and that he's struggled. That's not a strength.
But if there's one person who could teach Harold Landry a counter, Robert Mathis.
Nick Chubb.
Robert.
Oh, okay.
Mathis. Robert Mathis, our pass rush coach, and whatever that's
fun to think about.
Yeah,
isn't that fun to think about?
That is,
especially with their similarities.
Yes. Yeah. Because they're similar size.
Landry's the really dynamic pass rusher in this class, and you can say he's not quite the all-around player that Chubb is, but I would argue that, run defense, not something I care that much about in 2018, to be honest.
So let me throw
specifically
this.
from an edge.
Especially for Ed.
Let me throw this guy out here. We are not doing the Tampa 2, but we're doing the Seattle thing, and we have a 4-man front, and we have a Leo, and Harold Landry's your Leo. You don't have to worry about him playing the run.
That's a good point.
That's what you want him as, and I think that's even if you are running a defense where you kind of need him to play the run a little more. I get it. I just don't care. You get him.
Yeah, I don't care either. That's my attitude as well.
And that might be short-sighted, but I think
no, it isn't.
His ability to play the pass is what matters in this year, and nobody's better at it than him.
Yeah. All right. Fair.
He's also just really quickly in terms of actually getting him. He's not a guy at 6, but he is a guy at 12. And
right,
if there's
he's the guy at 12.
The dream scenario is trade down and then take Landry at 12. That's the best. That's leaving a lot on the table in terms of who's going to take him ahead of him, or there's a lot of uncertainty with that, and if they would actually take him at 12. But if I was running the Colts, that's my entire game plan.
That's what I've been doing in those fan speaks.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I'm not running the Colts, because then we'd have Bud Dupree. Anyways, so real quick, here's a fun one for you. My uncle-in-law who listens to this podcast, shout out Gary. He's a Steelers fan, boo, and he's telling me that Bud Dupree's actually getting ready to move into inside linebacker because they don't have.
Is he real?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. He and Clayton Geathers gonna get together. That's inside linebacker duo.
Anyways, we won't talk about past takes from the past because we definitely would not want to bring up that Florida Atlantic cornerback that we drafted at the beginning of the third round a few years ago. I don't know.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do that.
Ooh, DeJon Smith, man, I even forgot his name. Times. DeJon Mustard. Anyways, we won't talk about who was really high on him. Anyway, let's move on to the third guy we'll talk about tonight. Marcus Davenport, University of Texas, San Antonio, 6'5", 264, ran a 4.5, 840 with a 7.23 cone. 21 years old. Okay, you watch his tape, and he looks like Lawrence Taylor out there. But then again, he's playing with guys who are just maybe a little bit more athletic than me. So, I mean, like Garrett, you could be a wide receiver on these teams. And I'm not trying to put you down, my friend.
Okay.
But this is where we're coming from here. These guys are awful. and yeah, he puts a lot of people on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a real hard. But I guess that's what you want to see when you have a lower school prospect come in, someone who dominates, just like Khalil Mack did. So
I'm sorry, I actually missed who we're talking about right now.
Marcus Davenport.
Oh, okay. Yeah, how dare you?
He's going up against a lot of people like Daniel Minland. So shout out Minland. I know he's listening. He's one of the 3 listeners. We got going live. He'll be one of the 300 that we might have later on in the week. But anyways,
Ooh, flex.
Yeah, flex on him. Anyways, I don't know. He's a projection, and I don't. It's hard to like watch his tape and really evaluate his film because he just pushes people over.
Okay, I know you kind of have a predilection for the small school edge guys. I'm remembering Toll, right?
Davis Toll.
Yeah.
The only reason is alma mater.
I get that. No, I'm not criticizing. I don't remember actually what happened to him. Did he test well, or did
he was
Davenport?
a force player?
Yeah, he was, but wasn't he? Right.
Yeah, he got hurt. I think he had a really like brutal leg injury in rookie camp or something like that for the Saints. I don't think he ever recovered from his injury.
And then another force player that we drafted, what was it, John Simon? No, it wasn't John Simon. Who was the force player we drafted?
From Maine?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Trevor Bates.
Yes. Yeah. Never did he? I think he played a few snaps once.
He played for another team.
He's a Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots.
What? Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to remember our history, or at least our experiences with the smaller school force player guys. Doesn't seem too positive generally. So, but Khalil Mack.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know with Marcus. I mean, like I said, it's hard to watch his tape because he just bullies everyone. And I mean, again, that's what you want to see, but I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I think the most valuable tool to evaluate him is the Senior Bowl because that's what he's going against players who are of his caliber. And in general, the consensus seemed to be it was an up and down week. So
I think he got better throughout the week, which is what you want to see.
Right. Especially for a guy who's not used to playing that level of competition.
Right. All right.
So I don't really know with him. I'm not a huge fan. He's just not the type of profile guy I really look for. But again, day 2, all about it. But day 1, probably not.
If the Bills trade were to happen, I could see it at 22. Wouldn't make me
22.
upset.
I'd be fine with that at 22.
Wouldn't upset me, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, this question's for you. In a vacuum, Sam Hubbard in the 2nd round, Tyquan Lewis in the 3rd round, Jalen Holmes in the 4th round. Where are you going?
Either Tyquan or I think Jalen. Jalen's a really good pass rusher. That's all he really does. But Hubbard made plays, but he never really converted them to sacks. He was a good player against the run. And other than Bosa, I think our most dynamic pass rusher was definitely Jalen. So I really like all of them. I've gotten to see them all a lot, and they all served important roles on the team. I think Tyquan I haven't heard anything about Tyquan. I don't even know if he's a 3rd-round player. He's going to be taken that high, but I love Tyquan.
I think he's a 3rd-round player. He's
excellent.
He's 80% Bradley Chubb, in my opinion. I think he's got a little more than that, but he's a really good player. But Jalen has the potential to be. I think he's best in the NFL, like he was at Ohio State, as a situational pass rusher who comes in but does really well when he does come in. You want him on passing downs and letting him just get to the quarterback. Yeah. What do you think about Sam? Talk about him for a minute.
Yeah, so I've been up and down on Sam. I was all
You're
in on
like
him.
super high on him last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago, but then he never put together that season that I was hoping for him. I think a lot of that maybe had to do with the defensive line he was playing on, because it was truly stacked, and playing next to Nick Bosa, the better Bosa, is tough. But he definitely showed flashes like that Penn State game. He had on the last drive against Penn State. All I can remember from that game is when he just tackled both Saquon and their quarterback on one play. He just hugged them both and brought them down on like a crucial fourth or third down or something, or no, it was first down to begin the drive. It was just an awesome play. He and the entire defense were amazing against USC. So he showed flashes. His testing was a little all over the place. His 40 was bad. His 3-cone was amazing. I tend to value the 3-cone a little more. So again, second-round player, I'd personally be really happy. I'm not sure if it would be a great use of assets and a great value pick, but I'd be really happy with him just because I really care for him as a player. He's my type of guy.
Next guy we're going to talk about, Josh Sweat, Florida State, 6'4", 251. He is a force player with a 6.95 cone at his pro day and a 4.53 40 with 84-inch wingspan.
Oof.
He looks like an alien. Thoughts?
Wait, hold on, I need pictures because I haven't actually watched him. But
I'm a big fan. He is my edge 3.
Same.
Would be totally down with him at 22.
He's my edge 4. Yeah.
Behind Davenport.
Yeah, I got him behind Davenport.
Yeah, I'm just over Davenport. That one's really close for me. But players like Sweat who are athletic and work, and you look at their film and you look at their production and you realize it was kind of because they were misused. I think Kyle Posey had this great video about how just showing like how he was misused and how when he was given the chance he really was disruptive, and that mirrored all the things that I saw, because he was asked he wasn't allowed to be really that edge speed rusher at Florida State that I think he has the profile to be. And you throw in the athleticism, he's strong, he's got that crazy build, and he's been pretty good for like across multiple years at Florida State. I don't know. I'm a big fan.
I on pure upside alone, I'm totally down for him at like again Bill's trade or at our second round pick.
Because it's a combination of athleticism and then also it's not a lack of production. It's maybe a just not the production you'd like to see. I don't know if anybody's compared him to this, but it's kind of like what we saw from Danielle Hunter, and that he's a freak athlete and who had valuable traits and valuable production, but just wasn't utilized like you would expect him to be, a player like that to be. And that certainly worked out well for the Vikings.
Oh, did the Jags release their new uniforms tonight?
I think they do. That's what someone said.
Yeah, they're not. They're pretty basic. Anyways,
when did they come out? Wait, did they happen yet?
There's a tweet. I'll retweet. You can go to my timeline. It's like a leak, like the Marcus Mariota jersey was.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, and real quick, can we talk about that? Thank God our jerseys haven't changed to be whatever bastardization of horribleness the Titans jersey is.
An underrated part about rooting for the Colts is we do have really good jerseys.
It's simple.
Nice.
Yeah, simple is good, and those Titan jerseys are horrible.
They're absolutely the worst.
I think they're the worst in the league now.
It's not even. I mean, I would rather rep some CFL or Arena League jerseys.
Oh wow!
The Titans jerseys are like seriously awful.
Oh my god!
At least, like if you have a CFL league, you're like kind of different. You have like a side to you. If you're a Titans fan and you're repping a Titans jersey, you've got nothing going for you.
That's so bad. I just looked them up. That's so bad. Why?
Live reaction.
I thought that was a good idea.
It's an 8. Why does it have so many corners?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
No. Look at the Titans logo.
Yeah, the Titans. The T.
It's Titan 5.
Yeah.
But, wait, hold on.
S. Yeah.
where the
Oh my god, it is a 5.
yeah, it's Titan 5, and I'm just like, what is this?
Titan
And like
5
sleeves
pre-workout.
with the multicolors and the sword and
It's really
like
really
the
bad.
blue and the underarm. The light,
I am so excited. I go to Nashville. I've been going to Nashville every year since I moved down here for the game, and I am just gonna talk so much shit to someone wearing one of these jerseys. I'm stoked on it too.
Man, how insecure do you have to be like, we need to go sharp. We need everything to be sharp.
No, and the thing is that
The 8 has a little point on the top right of it.
yeah, dude, it's all bad, man. Like,
it's got a blade.
you're like 2 weeks behind, but I'm glad to get your enthusiasm live.
Yeah, this number looks like a box cutter.
Okay, back to edges. Let's finish the night strong, guys. Let's talk about another guy. Let's see, who's the last guy I wanted to talk about edge wise. Why is his name? I closed my measurements tab. Well, one is Ogbonia Okoronkwo. Hope I said his name right. Out of Oklahoma. He's an interesting guy. He reminds me of D Ford, though. Any thoughts on him? If you guys watch it.
Not watch.
have not watched.
All right, fair enough. Any other edges that you guys may or may not have watched that you'd want to talk about before we close the night out?
The Rutgers guy is finally declaring. He's been at Rutgers for like 8 years. I feel like Turi, but he's at least intriguing. I'd like to see him on the team just because he's that freak athlete.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. Kimoko Ture. I'll be really interested to see where he lands because he's had some very bad injury history, just what's kept him from declaring for a while.
Those Jaguars are kind of they're
just boring.
I don't really like the numbers. I don't like the numbers.
They're just boring.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Any questions? We're gonna pull these up real quick. We answered that one. We answered that one. We answered that one. We've talked about that before. So, with that being said, next week, we haven't talked about it. We'll talk about this later. We know we're doing at least one show before the draft, and that is going to be top 5 of all positions, plus the top 5 Colts board. Jay will be joining us. Jeremy will be joining us, and we will we'll talk about that possibly Monday night before the draft. We will try and get your questions beforehand, and we'll kind of go from there. And then we'll discuss what's going to happen after the draft here in just a minute when we're off air. But with that being said, appreciate all the love and support I got after the Stephen Holder podcast. If you've not listened to that, go back, take a listen. A lot of good, interesting nuggets Stephen dropped. The thing I appreciate about Stephen and anyone who listened to that hoping to get, rumors. Stephen doesn't do rumors. He's a reporter, and he's going to report on what he sees and hears as long as it's credible. So anyone who is expecting to hear, oh, they really love this guy, not going to get it out of him. But it was still very interesting to talk about the entire offseason process with him and just to kind of pick his mind a little bit. So if you've not listened to that, go back and listen to it. Guys, anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
I think I mentioned Uchenna Nwosu from USC earlier. I don't know how well he would fit in our defense as a 4-3 if he has that size for that, but he is a force player, which I did not know until I just looked it up.
I did not know that either.
There you have it.
There you have it. Another force player. All right. With that, we were hitting about an hour. Everyone, we appreciate y'all. We'll see.
Sorry, I was muted. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna put out a Colts big board for Stampede Blue probably a top 10 sometime this week or sometime before the draft. So keep an eye out for that.
And we will retweet that so when it comes out. Anyways, thanks y'all. We'll see y'all later.